Oh, well, it's week 7, our last week of class. What I hope this class has demonstrated for you is that first, social entrepreneurship is an emerging concept. And by that, I mean there are many definitions and approaches to it, and it's evolving rapidly in our technological and cultural and global moment. I think this complexity is a strength, but I also think it's important that entrepreneurial thinking and approaches are engaged in social entrepreneurship. Early on in class, I mentioned the characteristics that MSU has identified as key to entrepreneurial thinking, like having initiative, taking risks, being flexible, being creative, thinking critically, and more. For week 5, one of our sparks was the table of contents from Kevin Johnson's books, The Entrepreneur Mind. And he identified 100 characteristics like thinking big, asking for help, seeing technology as an opportunity and not a threat, seeking inspiration, and recognizing failure as an opportunity to learn and move forward. What I hope this class has also demonstrated is that there's a lot of good happening in the world right now, undertaken by a lot of people. There's room for each and every one of us to participate in this good work and in this change, either by launching a social or cultural entrepreneurial venture or making change for social good within the company or organization in which you work. The focus of our last week of class is on the future of social entrepreneurship. And you've been asking fantastic questions on PackPack the last few weeks about what our future might look like. Allison asked about the next stage and phases of social entrepreneurship, and Zibao asked what challenges social entrepreneurs will face in the future. Brett and Megwan asked about how social entrepreneurial approaches will address critical issues in the future, including human trafficking and the world's trash. Jonathan asked if we have enough supplies to engage work and sustain change in the future. Taylor inquired about the impact that robots, and I would also include artificial intelligence, will have on social entrepreneurship. Yeezy questioned, how will identify social washing, or businesses that talk the talk and act like they're socially engaged, but aren't actually engaged in social action, and how will we call them out or work with them to do better? And Isabel asked, how would the world be different if every company operated like a social enterprise? These are great questions. Are we going to see these positive trends continue? Will social entrepreneurship be engaged by more and more individuals, organizations, and companies? As for Isabel's question, can we imagine a world where all entrepreneurial work, all business is socially engaged and there's not really such a thing as social entrepreneurship anymore? What tactics and approaches will help us make positive change in the world in the coming years, especially as we work together to address the wicked problems, those large-scale, massive crises that require multiple people, multiple fields, and many vantage points to address? In this video, I want to talk briefly about different approaches to and understandings of social entrepreneurship to kind of generate some closure for our last few weeks together. And I'm going to specifically attend to what the future might look like. And I'm also going to talk just a little bit more about Project 4, our final class project, which I introduced last week. I want to talk just a bit here about an edited collection called Social Entrepreneurship by Joanna Mayer, Jeffrey Robinson, and Kai Hockerts. 3 years ago, University of Michigan had Jeffrey Robinson, one of the book's editors, on campus to host a symposium on Innovate Blue's Urban Entrepreneurship Initiative. This is a book specifically about social entrepreneurship, and the editors and authors don't even agree as to what it is. The editors open the book by talking about aspects of social entrepreneurship. Rather than offering a definition, they offer characteristics. That social entrepreneurship is undertaken by enterprising individuals devoted to making a difference, that it happens in a range of ways, that includes new types of philanthropists supporting venture capital-like investments, and it also includes nonprofit organizations reinventing themselves by drawing upon business concepts. And these characteristics should seem familiar because they really resonate with the characteristics we've been talking about all semester. To draw from just 3 chapters in the book, Francesco Perini, a professor of management and sustainability in Italy, and Claudia Verro, a student of business administration, suggest that social entrepreneurs are change promoters, that they strive to exploit social innovation with an entrepreneurial mindset, a strong need for achievement, in order to create new social value in the market and in the community at large. Jeffrey Robinson, who I just mentioned, he's one of the book's editors. He's also a professor of management at NYU, suggests that social entrepreneurship is a process of identifying a specific social problem, crafting a specific solution to address that problem, engaging in the evaluation of the social impact, the business model, and its sustainability, and maintaining a social mission-oriented entity. Christian Silos, a researcher in business strategy, and Kate Ganley, a research assistant at a business school in Spain, describe the social entrepreneur as someone who identifies and applies practical solutions to social problems, innovates by finding a new product, service, or approach, focuses on social value creation, resists being trapped by the constraints of ideology or discipline, and has a vision, but also a roadmap for how they're going to attain that goal. Even though there isn't an agreed upon set definition here, we can see the trends that give shape to social entrepreneurship. Identifying social needs, drawing on best practices from business, evaluating strategies and approaches, and innovatively measuring impact. As we've discussed in class, and I'm sure you've thought a lot about, one place where social entrepreneurship is critical is in our pandemic context, and looking toward our post-pandemic context where our lives and our interactions will be significantly changed and our economy has already been significantly changed. Another and related place where I think social entrepreneurship is critical to our future has to do with homelessness. In the US specifically, right before COVID, there are a lot of news articles focused on the fact that although the US had a pretty strong economy, homelessness was becoming a bigger and bigger problem, and COVID changed that context. As of May 2020, the US Bureau of Labor Statistics suggested our unemployment rate at about 13%. So homelessness is intersected and impacted by COVID. Homelessness is partly due to an affordable housing crisis, along with housing costing more than people make. Natural disasters have had a huge impact on housing and homelessness in the past few years. And of course, this isn't just a US problem. This is a worldwide problem, impacting families and children around the world. Last year, a student who wrote her project about homelessness in her hometown in China pitched the idea of a hotel that would be staffed and run by homeless people from the community. In exchange for their labor, they'd receive food and board at the hotel, and they develop professional skills by running the hotel, customer service skills, cleaning and maintenance skills, cooking skills, and more. Homelessness is just one of the big, wicked problems we face, and that social entrepreneurial approaches might help us address in the future. Again, our focus for this last week of class is the future of social entrepreneurship. Our first reading by Paul Light is called Reshaping Social Entrepreneurship, and he describes some moves we need to make to protect the future of social entrepreneurship. Our last two class readings are the conclusions of two important books on social entrepreneurship. First, we're going to read the conclusion to Beverly Schwartz's Rippling: How Social Entrepreneurs Spread Innovation Throughout the World. And in the conclusion, she summarizes the idea of rippling that she's built in the book and talks about how social entrepreneurship can and should continue to be cultivated. Then we'll read the conclusion to Georgia Levinson Cohen's book, Social Entrepreneurship for the 21st Century. And in her conclusion, she hones in on the role that the U.S. government specifically plays and what government structures need to exist to engage and support social entrepreneurship. Our case is another social entrepreneurial project by an MSU alum. You're going to read about the York Project. And we have two sparks. Creativity, as I've argued in this class, is a key component of all entrepreneurial work, including social entrepreneurship. And creativity is something that has to be nurtured and fostered. So our two sparks are, first, a piece on how successful entrepreneurs stay creative. And second, a list of 50 ways you can be more creative in your everyday life. The product of Project 4 is a 2 to 3 page double-space essay. For Project 4, you're going to think about a particular community, identify a need, issue, or problem in that community, and then pitch a social entrepreneurial idea to address that need, issue, or problem. Last week, I introduced Project 4 and shared the community I was focused on, South Lansing, and more importantly, the Grand River. The social issue I was concerned about, fish and river health, and mentioned my particular social entrepreneurial idea for addressing that issue, hook and ladle. I've been continuing to work on my essay and I've created an outline of what I want to cover. First, I'd want to introduce the problem. I'd probably do some research, find some statistics about the Grand River, and probably Michigan's economy. I might try to find some information about fish species and protecting river health, although I only have a couple of paragraphs, so I couldn't go into a ton of detail. Then I'd introduce my idea by explaining what hook and ladle would be. I only have 2 or 3 pages again, so I can't offer a ton of detail. What I'd be sure to do in the body of my essay is to talk about the mission of Hook and Ladle and be sure to explain how it's a social entrepreneurial venture, social and entrepreneurial. And I wouldn't just say it's an example of social entrepreneurship. I'd include descriptions, definitions, and quotes from a class reading or two to support my ideas. I conclude by offering some final points or ideas about the concept and what impact it might have. Remember, you're proposing an approach that focuses on social and community good, but also an approach that leverages entrepreneurial thinking and generates revenue. You can potentially pitch a nonprofit approach to your issue, but if you do so, you're going to want to probably draw on the readings and explain how you'll engage entrepreneurial thinking to raise funds and do the work of your organization. So that's an example of my idea for Project 4, our final class project, which is an individual project. And I consider this a capstone project. There's no final exam for class. Project 4 is our last assignment. I really want you to draw from across our readings, our cases, our sparks, your pack-back conversations in your Project 4 work. Be sure to carefully review the assignment and the grading rubric on D2L, and if it's helpful, the 2 example essays I saved on D2L. Project 4 should allow you to reflect, that is, look back and think about what we've done the last few weeks. And it should also allow you to think forward, to apply what we've been reading and talking about, to think about how we might address a particular issue. This week, class officially ends on Friday. Actually, I think it officially ends on Thursday, but I'm giving you guys a little bit of extra time because I know you just wrapped up your Project 3 work. So your Project 4 essay is due by noon Eastern this Friday, June 26th. And as always, feel free to reach out on email or text me if you have any questions about our final week for class or as you wrap up and plan to submit your Project 4 essay.